So we're going to look at it and use gender mainstreaming as an example. So we can use many different intersections, but we're going to take a look at that, because basically in any kind of policy, it affects men and women, right, at a certain point, right? So it's hard to kind of ignore, although there is most policies do ignore the issue of gender. So my research, as I mentioned, is First Nations Property Ownership Act, and that's First Nations are what we call Indigenous people in Canada, right? And that's a property ownership act that keeps coming up with different names about every 10 years or new government or something. And so, you know, I mean, for a lot of Indigenous people, it's very attractive because they can own. The idea of owning their land is something that they've really wanted to, but it's not ownership in the capitalistic way. So it creates a lot of tension, and it brings those people into kind of a market, you know, a capitalist market that makes them even more vulnerable in many different ways. So it's a kind of a, you know, empowerment versus makes them more vulnerable. I am also looking now at something a little bit different, well, very different in many ways, but it's about international students and the mobility now of students and knowledge moving around the world, and policies that, because part of my other area is to look at immigrant services and that are given, and especially that's a big thing in Canada, right? How do we integrate immigrants? How do we support immigrants? How do we, you know, create a country where, you know, everyone feels equally treated and is equally supported in that. So this is kind of coming out of that. So I'm doing that now. It's with a government grant. It's ending in March. So yeah, it's been very interesting. And especially in a country like Japan that offers English medium programs, but is not an English speaking country, right? And so you've experienced some of the challenges that go with that, and surprises, and yeah. Because it's even, I mean, it's very difficult to support and to facilitate learning of international students, even in English medium, you know, learning, even in English speaking countries. So anyway, so that's two of my kind of research projects that I'm doing at the moment. The first one is kind of finished, but I still have some fingers in there. So if we look at public policy, just as a kind of, I know that you know because you're all government people, but maybe it would be a good test question. What is public policy? Because I think we can probably discuss it. But anyway, rules, regulations, guidelines, whatever, right? Problem solving. But the more important thing is that, you know, would you agree to that sentence that most government policies and programs are assumed to apply equally to both men and women and affect them in the same way? Yes.
Did we? How could we get this module of your lecture today? Because we supposed to have summary.
Yes.
So I had the handout of your presentation.
I don't have a handout.
Are you going to post it in Manaba?
No, I wasn't going to, because then that makes it too. So I said you should take notes. Yeah.
Okay.
So while we're discussing and thinking and some of the ideas, you should take notes.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think you will get you'll have by the end of the class a really strong, you know, idea and understanding of it. If not, we can maybe negotiate, some ideas. But I think you'll be fine, just as long as you take notes, ask questions, and that. So, would you agree, disagree with that statement? What do you think? You guys are government people, policy people.
Yes. Most. The word is most.
Most. So that's the operative word, most. Yeah. So they assumed.
I a little bit have something about that.
What's the something, you know? Not sure.